Well, I'm sure you might be saying, what the hell is that? And if you're a car aficionado, the door chime will tell you that it's a Honda, but it's a Honda Acti van. And they have Acti trucks and they have other things like this. This is a Japanese Kei car. Essentially, they have to be a certain size. It's like 1.43 meters wide is the maximum they can be, and 3 or so meters long is the maximum they can be, and they can only have 660 cc's. They're limited at 64 horsepower. This one makes like 40 something. And yeah, they're just little get around cars from Japan, and they are now legal to import. There you are. It is under the carpet in the back because this is a mid-engine four-wheel drive vehicle. I've got a bunch of parts for it. We're going to be rebuilding the carburetor, and we're going to be doing a tune-up, spark plugs and wires and stuff, and then a timing belt on this. And so this is a interesting one because I have nothing to tell me what to do. I found some old manuals online, and they are in a language that I didn't learn yet. I'm gonna go through that. Hopefully the numbers are there, because numbers make sense to me. The big thing is that we found the water pump leaking on this, and then the carburetor is just old, and I had to adjust it to get it to idle nicely because these are actually supposed to idle somewhere around 1150 when it's all warm. So when you first turn it on cold, it actually idles somewhere around 2600. And that is because it is such a small engine, because, you know, even motorcycles idle higher and V8s idle low. It's just kind of a thing with rotational mass and all that stuff. First things first, because I do not have anything telling me how this is supposed to go, is I'm gonna take pictures of how it's supposed to go and then go back to my pictures. And the big thing with this is remembering to take more pictures as you take it apart, because right now you can't see everything. All right, now we're just gonna start ripping it apart. Start going with the obvious stuff. So we're removing the carburetor, which is this concoction, so that we can go through and replace all the seals that we got and clean up anything from the, 30 or so years that it's been sitting. We got hose. This one down here I gotta do. There's this one that goes in the plastic, so I'm gonna take that off. If you don't have yourself a set of hose pliers, get some, because any other pliers you prying on this thing, these old hoses would have destroyed, but they have not been destroyed because you can actually grab all the way around them. Some other things that are underneath. Nope, I will take that off. Okay, I've got almost everything pulled off. Definitely quite a few vacuum lines. We've got this one that goes there, this one that goes to the top. These two, the coolant lines here for the idle air control. The big one, the big breather back here from, I'm guessing, the PCV, or nope, just a breather off the valve cover, it looks like. Fuel line over here. A evap line up here. And then there's some stuff under there. There's a wire harness hooked on it, but from what I can tell right now, it looks like we might just have 2 bolts holding this carb on, and maybe a couple wires. We'll see when we start to pull it out when we get that far. But at the end of me getting this out of here, I will explain to you how I got it out of here. I got this bolt and that bolt off, and I haven't done anything really underneath from what I can see because I can't see. There's a bolt way down there. I need a magnet and all that stuff to get it out. Bolt right here, just 2. And the carb doth wiggle. I know that this intake tube is kind of fighting me. I wonder how hard it is to actually pull that intake tube all the way out. Doesn't look fun. Now I am being as gentle as I can be because I don't actually know if this is ready to come out. I'm going to take this off, which I think I'm going to go from underneath to try and see if I can get any of that off decently from underneath first, because with this out of the way, I think we'll be in a better spot. All right, this has more room than I thought. So get that off the air box. I'm looking at it and I was thinking about trying to just pull this out, but this is kind of small area and it might just be easier to drop the air box, which I say easier, but it's not really easy to begin with. But I think I might just drop the air box to get this out, because this is loose on both sides and nothing touching it. It's just that this hole, it's not coming up through this hole. And down there, there's a decent hole, but there's still some stuff under there. So we're gonna go back up with this and then see what I have to take off to get this hose out. Because I think once this hose is out, it should just come forward, and these two connectors do go to the carburetor. So I'll be unplugging those, but I wanna make sure that that's out of the way first. I have what I think is all the bolts for the airbox off. I'm just trying to get some of these rubber hoses off of it. And then we're gonna see if it comes down. All right. So that is loose. I'm gonna just try and take off this cap for the air filter and see if that gives me a little bit more wiggle room. So we got that off. This came out. All right. So recap, took off everything for the air filter. There's a little hose, vacuum hose under here. This red one, it goes to the bottom of the carb. There's this one, which goes up into the chassis, and it actually goes to the bottom of this evap piece. There's this big hose, which goes from the block over to the chassis. Took that off. There's a tiny little hose that goes up here, way back in here, that also goes to this evap canister. There's the little tube that goes to the muffler that goes on the back of the filter. And there's this oval piece right there. And then when you take the cap off to get to the filter, that gives you enough to just set it aside so you don't have to take the exhaust off or any other stuff. And this actually pulled out really easy. So unplug the green one, unplug the black one. Okay, let's see what happens. So pulling this way. What are we? Oh, the harness under here. Shove that down. I would hope that they wouldn't put anything underneath this that would hinder pulling it out. Pulling. Okay, I'm gonna take a picture of that because there's a vacuum hose that needs to come off that goes underneath it. Little one. Goes to this top one in here. And then we have another vacuum hose that goes underneath it but goes up top. That T broke. I will say one out of all the ones that we've done is not terrible. Perfect. And I didn't stab myself. Look at that. All right. Carb is out. Recap, right? We just have a bunch of vacuum lines that go around to a bunch of things in there. 2 bolts that hold the entire thing on. And then this little hole right here is for coolant. That one is for air. And this plate, which is some sort of spacer or guide or whatever. Oh, it is. So it goes from these two larger ones to just one smaller one. Next is I'm going to clean this up so that it's not dirty while I'm taking it apart. And then essentially just go over all of the gaskets that we got for the rebuild kit. I did buy a full rebuild kit, but if you've ever bought one before, there might be some stuff that's not in the rebuild kit because they don't think you need to do it. And I don't have instructions. But I did actually find a exploded view of this carburetor, so hopefully it's accurate. All right, we got tools and stuff. All right, now where do these go? We gotta do all the pictures. Gotta do all the pictures now. So we got the bottom of it. And now that we have the carb essentially open to where we can see everything, I like to do something where I just grab all my new parts and look at them, and then we can kind of guess where everything needs to go and what needs to come off, because like these diaphragms probably aren't replacing, so we might not have to do anything on this side really. This thing, probably have a gasket for that. The bottom of this, where it's got these ones, probably have gaskets for these. So having it with the parts next to it is better than just taking it apart and then seeing where everything goes, because we might take stuff apart that we don't need to, and we don't have anything to put in. Timing belt, water pump, spark plug, tensioner, or tensioner is plugged. Come here. All right, so we got that one. Okay, there's a little gasket kit for it. We got this one, which is a fuel filter. That's a rotor. This, come here, is a diaphragm of some sort. Well, yeah, okay, no, I think this is like the throttle spring or something like that, because it's got the diaphragm and the spring in it. We got oil filter. This is one of the drive belts. Fan belt Bondo. Yo! Bondo brand belts. Valve cover gasket, and we're doing an oil change on it. Okay, so this is everything that we need for this. The fuel filter I'll find because it's probably on the car. It might be that where this hose went to. Very possible. Okay, we're going to essentially just start going over. So that squarish one goes to, yeah. This one, I am wondering if it's this like circle with like the little phallic shape coming off of it. That's a possibility there. This little guy is this little guy, so that's easy. We have this little boot, which I don't know where that boot goes. Oh, I think it's for under here. That makes sense. So it's way down in there. It's that little boot. And then this guy, that also could be for the water pump. We will find out. What do we got in here? We got a bigger spring. Yep, there's the phallic shaped one. So that goes over there. This one we don't have, but as long as it looks good, I'm not too worried about it. I just want to make sure that, I mean, it looks amazing in this other than it being old. Yeah, we got that. Yeah. Gotta make sure we know which direction it goes. And the spring was obviously in between that. This one does look a little older. Oop, that one's stuck. Let me get. And I am definitely using a pick on this because I know I have a new one. I did not want to use a pick on the other one because I know I don't have a new one. Okay, that one's definitely older. It's one of the jets or something in there. But it's not as clean as this side, but it's still decently clean. Okay, so we'll keep those together, these together, those together. Okay, so now we're gonna take off this piece. Okay, and that piece just touches. Yep, so it just touches. There's nothing holding that on. These screws are tight. I just cracked the other ones loose first. So this, I'm guessing, is the bowl. Which, if you don't know carburetors, it is called the bowl because it literally just holds fuel in it. Yep, there's the square one. We got a tiny little spring in there, which looks like doesn't really come off. These are the floats because guess what? They float. And that's the little stopper. When the floats go up enough, when the bowl is full, it stops fuel from coming in. So we're going to clean all this. You can see some little bits of fuel there that might be from the gasket getting old. So this might not have been a, foobarred carburetor, but it is definitely one where this rebuild is catching it at the right time, I think. We're going to pull the float out. This little pin here just pushes out. And the reason why it just pushes out is because the big cap that we took off holds it in. And then we've got our little stopper there, which looks perfectly fine. I don't see a new one. So in the future, just because we're getting lucky with this one not being completely destroyed carburetor, I'll have to be a little bit more picky on the carb kits we get because we might have to replace that on one of these K trucks in the future if we start doing more of them. Yeah, like I said, I don't have anything to tell me what to do, so this is just me going off of my knowledge of how these things should work and continuing that. So
it's not super dirty.
No, it looks great, other than, obviously the leaks starting around this where you've got the brown happening. So, but inside of it, it didn't sit for a long time with bad fuel ever, which is nice. I got the surface here cleaned. I'm going to start cleaning this one. Getting the O-ring out. That old fuel gets very gummy. Cleaning up pretty easy, which is always nice. That's clean. I'm going to pick that out. This thing, it's got a little bump on the end. You see that? Let's pop it out. We're going to pop that off. Let me get this O-ring out. Where'd my pick go? There it is. That moves way better than it did before. All right, I'm gonna clean this top, and then we're gonna assemble that, and then we're gonna assemble that, and then we're gonna put this back together once I pick a few things out of there, because this looks pretty good. This is actually going not horrible, which is all I'm gonna leave it at. I said not horrible. I said not horrible. I didn't say the other word. I said not horrible, okay? You never say that anything is going as you thought or whatever. You can only say that, like if you said, that went well, or that was easy, perfectly fine. If you ever go at something and you're like, this should be easy, you are fucked.
You're on that last, You're on that last head bolt.
Oh yeah.
You're torquing it down and all of a sudden.
Yeah, that's because you said it was going to be easy. Never say it's going to be easy. Just be like, oh, this isn't turning out as bad as I thought. Perfect. You can say that. All right. suction. Put this in. Everything looks good. That's facing the right direction. If you're doing this, make sure that's facing the right direction. All right, now we're gonna do this one because I'm pretty sure that's where the rest of this stuff goes, is up here.
It's a little dirty.
Yeah, this one's a little different on this side. All right, so that, oh, cool. It only goes in one way. I like it. Thank you, Honda. So we're gonna clean this up for sure. All right, so we got the O-ring out. So I'm gonna check my exploded diagram so I can see what's under this before I take that off, because we do have some extra stuff. I'm gonna try to see where some of my other stuff is, but this needs a cleaning. Comes out as well. Got that one. We got two new ones of those. This one. There's an O-ring that goes on that one. There's stuff in there. There we go. That little guy. And then we got the pin or needle. Let me clean all this stuff up because this is in dire need, as some would say. I took my gloves off because brake clean got in one and it still hurts. So I'm just gonna put everything together, but it's as clean as I can get it without, you know, doing some sort of, I don't know, dry ice blasting or something, but it's, at least when you wipe it, nothing comes off. So we're gonna put this needle back in. We're gonna put this spring and stuff. There wasn't any kind of seal underneath this. So that'll go in there. And it was just snug just because everything on this thing is screwdrivers, so snug. And then we have the new cap, because the old cap is old and weathered. Nope, that just slides in nicely. So that one goes in after our new pieces here. And we have this little step, which goes for the screw. And then this one, we've got this little notch, lines up with that. And you gotta make sure the needle goes in the hole way down there. There we go. Needle went in. Spring-a-ma-doo. And then since the O-ring is down in there, this one doesn't have an O-ring for it. It seals into that other one. And then this one goes on in this direction. Just like I said before, make sure that you put these on in the correct direction. So we're gonna pull this off, which it might need a tiny bit of a pry from underneath, but it just pulls straight up. And then we're gonna take these out because there should be stuff underneath them that we need to change out as well. All right, I got it unscrewed and this stuff fell out, but this is where the little plunger goes in from the float. Come on, I need to get you out. And then we have our little internal filter. Come on, buddy. No, we're gonna turn you upside down. Ah, there it goes. All right, so let me slide the new filter in. Remember which way it goes, you know, bigger end up top, closed end, you know, there's nothing there, go down. So that just kind of flops in there. And then we got to put the, where'd it go? Where did I put my washer? There it is. Washer. And so this is very tiny in what it is. So I'm going to actually torque it, but I'm going to torque it to a Honda torque spec that I know of, which is 7.6 inch pounds, or no, 7.6 foot pounds, which was that? 84, 91 inch pounds. Perfect. All right, now this one, let's see what size that is for a socket, because I'd rather not use a flathead on it. That one's very lightly done for torque. So that might just be go until it stops. What we got here? Anything? I don't see anything in there, so we might not have a seal for this one. This is the jet where the needle goes. You can actually see the needle right there. I don't see an O-ring there, so we're gonna put that back in. And like I said, we might not torque it with how light it was in there. It might just be a go until it stops and then a tiny turn. So it stopped. 1/8 of a turn. Probably is actually tighter than it used to be. This one has an O-ring. That one has an O-ring, and then I think there's a separate jet under there. And then let's see, what size are you? You are not the 7, so are you an 8? Pull this one out. It's got another little jet in there. Okay, definitely snug. There we go. So this one has nothing in it. It's just got the little holes and stuff like that for the jet, which I'm guessing that one is the same. So then we don't need to pull these out, but we are going to change out the O-ring for the cap, or the little circle that went up here. So we're gonna put the other one in first, actually. It's gonna be easier to put this in if we don't have that one in there. This one will be the same thing, snug, and then 1/8 of a turn. So it would be good to have a tiny bit of fuel on the side when putting carburetors together, because then you can lube up the O-rings nicely, or just be very gentle when pushing everything together. All right, so now we're gonna put this float back together, because that is the furthest in O-ring we need to take care of. Which you do have to take this off because you got to get the filter in there. That O-ring you can just, but don't worry, these two don't got to touch. That one, okay. Now we got this with our little float in there and the blocker thingy, whatever it's called. Come on, there it is. And then it's just got to be even. That way when it slides on, it falls in between those two spots. The little square, little corners right there. So those go on either side of this to keep that long pin from coming out. So you don't want the pin sticking out on either side. Okay. At this point, we have 2 O-rings left. This itty bitty one and this other one. And if I was a normal YouTuber, I'd say, whoosh, I installed them. But no, I'm gonna show you where they go. So the bigger one, I believe, goes under this sensor. So we're gonna pull that sensor out. It's just got another Phillips on it. There, so that screw is out. Come on, buddy. There we go. No O-ring. Well, it's in there. Okay. Sorry, I'm being stupid. Come here. Come on. Come on. Come on. There we go. And look at that. So I don't know how well you can see that, but I'm gonna stretch it. This O-ring is cracking. So replace every single one of them that come in the kit. They're there for a reason. It's Honda, they didn't overlook it. If it was Nissan, okay, there's probably some stuff in there you don't need, but Honda makes a kit that actually goes for the car it says it does. Where places like Nissan and Chrysler, they just have one kit for like 75 years of cars, and you get to figure out what parts are actually meant for it. So the last itty bitty one is going to be in here. So this is an adjustment needle. So I'm gonna have to count stuff and I'm gonna try to figure out exactly where they're supposed to be, right? But this pulls out, and then that's what we gotta take out. So that is so that you can adjust it, and this little white thing has the cogs on it to turn that little needle, and then it has this little stopper so that it'll only turn so far, right? We're going to take it all the way out, which means we're gonna have to check the adjustment. So it is almost 90 degrees with that. One. Well, that's one full turn, right? 2 full turns. 3 full turns. 4. 5. 6. 7. So 7 turns. So we got a washer that came out with it. They made this so tiny and so far in there. I can see the O-ring now. All right, what we got? What we got? What we got? Ooh. Let me see if those will work. All right, I'm gonna need a little tiny hook of some sort to get in there and pull it out. All right, I had to make a tool. So I took a straight pick and I made it not a straight pick, and it worked. If you ever had to do washers into something like that really far down or whatever, this is actually my favorite thing. I've done this with like the ARP head studs and whatnot. You just get this that sits down there, you hold the washer way up here. When you have it lined up, you let go of the washer and it helps guide it all the way down. So when you're trying to do counting like this, you'll actually want to, you want to know when you actually start. So the key thing is if you actually loosen it, it'll drop. Yep. So that's where it finally lined up. So then we go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and it was slightly off 90. Like that. And then when I took this off, our little knob or whatever was literally 180 from the other one. With that, this carb is rebuilt. Before I do the timing belt on this thing, I'm going to put this back together, turn it on, make sure everything with that side is hunky-dory, and then we're going to do the other stuff because it's just nice knowing that we did it right instead of doing the timing and all that stuff and then this is fucked up. And now I think the timing's fucked up and I check way too many things. So I'm gonna put this all together, turn it on. As long as everything seems to run fine, cool. We're gonna do the rest of it. So as I do this, I'm gonna either remind you guys or tell you guys that I don't have a manual or anything to tell me how this is supposed to go. So that's why I'm taking a bunch of pictures. That's why I'm trying to, you know, go slowly and whatnot, because there's a bunch of random vacuum lines that are everywhere. There's lines that you can't see. It's just, you know, a fun time. So if you're going to try this, I didn't show everything because, well, it's really hard to. And like this, I'm using a magnet and a screwdriver to try and start this nut down here. And I'm actually using the magnet to turn the nut because of how it is. And it is on. So, yeah, just those things of you got to think outside of the box if you're going to work inside the box. You feel me? Stupid. This is one of those things where I'm putting it back together and I'm going, is that everything? Is it really that easy? Just because I didn't know what I was doing the first time. But we're gonna put new air filter in because why not? Before we go down, since we got all the stuff underneath for the air filter done, we're gonna do the fuel filter, which is right over here next to the condenser on the passenger side. Remember, this is right-hand drive, so this is the passenger side. They have arrows on them, so from the tank to the engine is the way the arrow points. Well, I'm gonna say it works. So that's how you rebuild one of the carbs on a Honda Acti. We should be doing more videos on other Kei vehicles as they come in. And now I'm going to make another video on doing the time belt. Look at that.